Little Miss Star Wants to Be Famous. Now, this is definitely a book that I had when I was younger. This is the 18th Little Miss book, and I had the full set from whatever was available when I was about 4 or 5 years old. But for some reason, I have no recollection of the character. And I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of her design. I don't know why, because I think actually she looks pretty fabulous. But part of me thinks she should have been star-shaped. It just would have made a bit more sense. But the narrative itself is quite sweet. We learn that Little Miss Star really, really wants to be famous. And the book says she is popular, she has a lot of friends, but she isn't famous, and she wants to be. And one day, she finds out that there's an opportunity for her to try and be famous. And what I really like is that the book kind of holds the information back. It doesn't necessarily say what's going on or how she's going to become famous. And we do see that she goes on an airplane, which I love. I think that's beautiful. Never currently has there been a book where a Mr. Man or Little Miss character has been on an airplane. I don't know if it happens after the fact, but certainly up until this point, this is the first time. I love how that's illustrated. I think that looks pretty great. And ultimately, she realizes that she's about to become famous, and I'm going to explain why she became famous, because she went to see somebody about telling her story. And we have, quite trippingly there, the cover on the inside. And we learn that Little Miss Star became famous because this unnamed writer, who we can assume is Hargreaves, decided to tell Little Miss Star's story. And that's exactly what happened. And she became famous. And it's quite sweet. It's not one of the books that has a strong moral or a strong meaning to it, but it's quite a fun story with a mystery element to it of wondering what's going to happen next and if and how she'll ever be famous. As I said, I have no recollection of it from my childhood, so I don't know why that exactly is, because there's nothing wrong with it. It's quite sweet. It's just not one that stood out to me, and the character is maybe not as star-like as she could be. But nevertheless, Little Miss Star is quite a sweet story, and certainly it kept me, a 30-year-old, guessing right until the end.